The marketplace was alive with noise, but it was not the noise of joy. It was the sound of cruelty, laughter, and jeers. Dozens of alien traders gathered in a circle, their voices rising like hungry predators. In the center of the circle stood a small alien girl. Her skin was pale and thin, her eyes wide with fear. She had no clothes, only torn fabric clinging to her body. Garbage was thrown at her feet, then at her face. A rotten fruit splattered across her shoulder, and the crowd howled with laughter. "Look at her, useless," one shouted. "She is worth less than a broken tool." Another sneered. The girl tried to cover herself with her hands, trembling. Her cheeks burned with shame. Her knees shook as if they would give way at any moment. She wanted to disappear, but there was nowhere to run. The aliens around her treated her like nothing, like trash. They spat near her, their eyes cold and merciless. Every voice in the crowd seemed to crush her spirit more, her tears mixed with the dirt on her face. She lowered her head, wishing the earth would open and swallow her whole. But among the crowd, one figure did not laugh. He was not like the others. He was human, tall, his coat worn from travel, his eyes watched silently. But deep inside him burned something different: anger. He clenched his fists as he saw the little alien girl suffering. The human had traveled far, passing through many alien settlements. He had seen cruelty before. But this was worse. It was not war, not survival, it was entertainment. They were not just punishing her, they were enjoying her humiliation. The girl stumbled when someone pushed her from behind. She fell to the dirt. The crowd roared with laughter again. She curled up, covering her face. Her shoulders shook with silent sobs. For her, the world had become only pain and shame. But then, she felt something strange. The noise of the crowd grew quieter, not because they stopped, but because someone stepped forward. The human walked into the circle, his boots pressed into the dirt. His shadow fell over the girl. At first, the crowd did not understand. A few laughed, thinking he would join the fun. But then they saw his coat move. He pulled it from his shoulders. It was old, patched, but warm. Without a word, he bent down and covered the trembling alien girl with it. Gasps broke out in the crowd. Silence followed. For the first time, the laughter was gone. The girl froze, feeling warmth wrap around her. Her eyes lifted slowly, confused. Why would anyone, especially a human, do this? "You should not be here," a voice from the crowd growled. "She is nothing but waste." Another hissed. "Step aside, human," shouted a guard at the edge of the circle. But the man did not move. He stood tall, his hand resting on the girl's shoulder as if to shield her from every eye around them. His face was calm, but his jaw was tight with fury. He looked at the crowd, and his voice finally broke the silence. "Enough," he said, his tone steady. "She is not trash." The words cut through the air like a blade. The crowd erupted with angry shouts. Some laughed harder, mocking him. Others cursed. Guards began to push through the ring, but the girl could only stare up at the human. Her heart raced. She could not believe it. Someone had spoken for her. Someone had given her dignity. Even, for a moment, her trembling hands clutched at the coat as if it was the only thing keeping her alive. Around them, the marketplace boiled with noise again. The cruel crowd was no longer laughing at her. They were laughing at him, mocking the human for protecting what they saw as worthless. But he did not care. His eyes stayed locked on the guards, now moving closer, and the girl realized something. This was not the end. This was the beginning. For the first time, she felt a spark inside her chest, fragile but alive. The spark of hope. The cruel crowd thought they had broken her forever, but they were wrong because one human had just stepped forward, and with one coat, one act of defiance, he had changed everything. The coat rested gently on her shoulders. It was not just fabric. It was warmth. It was safety. And it was the first kindness she had felt in a very long time. The alien girl clutched it with trembling hands, afraid someone would snatch it away, afraid it was only a dream. The crowd, however, did not stay silent. Murmurs turned into angry voices. Some shouted insults, others laughed, but their laughter was sharp now, bitter. They did not laugh at the girl anymore, they laughed at the human. "What is he doing?" a merchant barked. "He wastes his coat on garbage," sneered another. "He is mad," a woman said, shaking her head. The guards forced their way through the crowd, armored and armed. Their heavy boots thudded against the dirt. Their helmets reflected the dull glow of the market lamps. Their voices carried authority. "Step back, human," one ordered. "The creature is not yours." But the man did not move. He stood tall, his hand firm on the girl's shoulder. His eyes scanned the circle of aliens, cold and sharp. The girl's heart raced as she watched. Him. Her people had abandoned her. Her tormentors had broken her spirit. Yet this human, a stranger, refused to step aside. The girl whispered weakly, "Why? Why did you cover me?" Her voice cracked, fragile like broken glass. The man looked down at her, his voice quiet but steady. "Because you are not trash." She blinked, stunned. No one had ever said those words to her before. No one had ever given her worth. Her breath caught in her chest, and for the first time in years, she felt something strange. Hope. But the guards grew impatient. One raised his weapon, pointing it at the human's chest. "Last warning," he snarled. "Hand her over or face punishment." The crowd cheered the threat, excited to see blood. Their cruel amusement returned. They wanted to see the human crushed. They wanted to see his defiance broken, but instead the man slowly pulled the girl closer, shielding her body behind his coat wrapped around her even tighter, his jaw clenched, his eyes unblinking. "I will not," he said, each word like a stone. Gasps erupted. The alien girl's eyes widened. She could hardly believe. It, a single human, stood against an entire market. Guards with weapons, traders with hatred, and still he would not move. The guards exchanged glances, uncertain. A human was rare in these parts, but rare did not mean untouchable. Their orders were clear. Property must be returned. The girl was considered property, not a person, and his refusal was rebellion. One guard stepped forward, swinging his weapon, but the man dodged, swift and precise, his hand shot out. Grabbing the weapon's shaft in one powerful motion, he ripped it away and sent the guard stumbling back. The crowd roared, half in shock, half in excitement. The girl gasped, clutching the coat tighter. He was fighting for her, a stranger, a human, risking everything. Another guard lunged, but the man struck him across the face with the stolen weapon. The alien fell, groaning. Blood stained the dirt. The crowd's laughter turned into chaos. Shouts, screams, curses. Everyone shouted at once, but their words blurred into meaningless noise. The human leaned close to the girl, his voice urgent. "Stay close to me," he whispered. She nodded quickly, her eyes wide with fear and awe. Together they moved. The human pushed through the circle, the girl clinging to his side. The crowd tried to block them, but the human's glare made them hesitate. For every step forward, he swung the stolen weapon, keeping the mob at bay. They reached the edge of the market, but shouts echoed behind them. More guards were coming. The alarm bells rang, a deep metallic clang spreading across the settlement. The girl's heart sank. "They will not stop," she whispered. "They will hunt us." The man looked down at her. "Then we run," he said firmly. "And we don't stop." Her eyes filled with tears again, but they were not the same tears of before. They were not only fear. They were something new, a strange mix of fear, disbelief, and gratitude. As they slipped into the shadowed alleys, the crowd's fury behind them, the girl pressed her face into the human's coat. It smelled of travel, of dust, of struggle, but to her it was the sweetest smell in the world. It was the smell of protection, of humanity. For the first time in her life, someone had chosen her, not as property, not as an object, but as someone worth saving. And as the guards' footsteps thundered behind them, she knew this night was not just about escape. This night would change her life forever. The narrow alleys twisted like a maze. The human held the alien girl close, his coat wrapped around her small frame. Behind them, the sound of boots echoed, sharp and relentless. The guards were coming, and the hunt had begun. The girl's breathing was uneven. Her body was weak, trembling with exhaustion. She stumbled, but the human steadied her every time. His hand gripped hers firmly, pulling her forward through the shadows. "They will not stop," she whispered, her voice filled with fear. "Neither will I," the human replied, his tone calm but hard like steel. The settlement was alive with chaos now. Market bells clanged, voices shouted orders, torches flared to life. The hunters spread into the streets, searching every corner. Every alien who saw the human and the girl pointed, whispered, or shouted. The human pulled her into a side street, ducking low. He pressed his back against a wall, waiting. Torches passed by only a few steps away. The girl's heart pounded so loud she feared the guards would hear it. She clutched his coat tighter, hiding her face. One guard stopped, sniffing the air. "They went this way," he growled. The human's grip tightened on the stolen weapon. His body was tense, ready to strike if needed. But at the last moment, the guards rushed down another path, chasing shadows. The human exhaled slowly, then guided her deeper into the maze of alleys. Every turn felt dangerous. Every sound made the girl flinch. The city itself seemed to rise against them, walls closing, light searching, voices echoing. "Why do you risk this?" she asked suddenly, her voice breaking. "They will kill you." He glanced at her, his eyes steady even in the dark. "Because it is wrong to let them treat you this way." Her throat tightened. She had never heard words like that before. To her, kindness was something impossible, yet this human spoke as if it was natural. The noise behind them grew louder again. The guards had split into smaller groups, spreading through the alleys, searching more carefully. The human's pace quickened. His eyes scanned for a place to hide. Finally, he spotted a crumbling stone archway leading into an abandoned storehouse. He pushed the door open just enough and guided the girl inside. Dust filled the air. Broken shelves leaned against the walls. The place smelled of age and rot, but it was shelter. He pulled the door closed, pressing his weight against it until it clicked shut. Darkness wrapped around them. The girl sank to the floor, pulling the coat around herself. Her body shook with exhaustion and fear. The human crouched near the doorway, listening. The heavy steps of guards passed outside. Voices barked orders. "Search every building," one shouted. "The human has her." The girl whispered, "They will find us." "Not tonight," the man answered, his voice firm. For a moment, silence filled the ruined storehouse. Only the sound of their breathing remained. The girl looked at him, studying his face in the dim light. His expression was calm, but his eyes were sharp, always watching, always planning. "You could have walked away," she said quietly. "No one would have stopped you." He turned his gaze to her, and for the first time his expression softened. "But then I would be just like them." Her chest ached. His words planted something inside her, something that frightened her but also gave her strength. Was this what trust felt like? Was this what it meant to be seen as more than trash? But outside, the hunt continued. The clang of weapons against doors echoed through the night. Dogs, or creatures like dogs, snarled as they sniffed the ground. The sound crept closer and closer. The human leaned closer to the girl. "We may need to run again," he whispered. She nodded, clutching the coat so tightly her knuckles turned pale. Suddenly, a loud crash shook the building. A door nearby had been forced open. The guards were checking each shelter, each storehouse. Step by step, the human rose, his muscles tense, gripping the weapon in his hand. The girl's voice trembled. "If they catch us." "They won't." He cut her off, his tone final. The footsteps drew nearer. The human held his breath. Ready, his eyes met hers in the darkness, and for a heartbeat she felt safe even as danger closed in. Outside the storehouse door, voices growled, "Check inside." A shadow fell across the crack of the doorway. The girl's heart raced, her hands trembling against the coat. The human raised the weapon silently, his body coiled like a spring. The hook tightened. The moment stretched thin. Would the door burst open? Would they be discovered? And then, just as the door began to creak, a shout came from far down the alley. "Over here, we found tracks!" The guards cursed and turned away, their footsteps pounding into the distance. The girl collapsed against the wall in relief. Her chest heaved as she tried to breathe. The human lowered the weapon slowly. his expression unreadable, for now they were safe. But both of them knew the truth. This chase was only beginning. The aliens would not stop until she was captured again, or until the human was dead. And in that silent, ruined storehouse, the girl realized something. She was no longer running alone. For the first time, someone was running with her, fighting for her. The storehouse was dark. The only light came through cracks in the wooden walls. Thin lines of moonlight cut across the dusty floor. The air smelled of old grain and rusted tools. It was silent, but the silence felt heavy. The human leaned against the wall near the door, listening for footsteps outside. His hand never left the weapon he had taken. His breathing was steady, calm, but his eyes stayed sharp, always alert. The girl sat in the corner, wrapped in his coat, her body small and fragile against the shadows. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The girl kept glancing at him, her lips pressed tight. Her heart was still racing from the chase. Every sound outside made her flinch. Every gust of wind made her fear the door would break open. Finally, her voice broke the silence, soft and trembling. "Why?" she asked. The single word hung in the air. The human turned his head slightly. "Why what?" "Why save me?" she whispered. Her eyes glistened in the dim light. "They would have left you alone if you had not helped." The human was quiet. For a moment he looked at her and his voice was calm but firm. "Because what they did was wrong." The girl's breath caught. No one had ever spoken for her like that. No one had ever looked at her as if she was more than a burden. She lowered her eyes, clutching the coat tighter. "I am nothing," she whispered bitterly. "They said so my whole life. I was always worthless. They stripped me, they laughed because I deserve nothing." The human's jaw tightened. He stepped closer, crouching so his eyes met hers. His voice was low, steady, almost like a promise. "You are not nothing." Her chest ached. She wanted to believe him, but years of cruelty had carved deep scars. In her heart, she shook her head, tears sliding down her cheeks. "You don't understand, my kind. We are weak. We are sold, traded, used. No one cares if we die." "I care," he said simply. The words struck her harder than any weapon could. Her throat tightened, her tears fell faster. She tried to hide her face, but his coat shielded her, holding her like a barrier against the cold world. The human sat down beside her, his voice softer now. "Rest. You need strength." She looked at him with wide, disbelieving eyes. "If I close my eyes, they will come. They will take me back. They always do." "Not if I am here," he said firmly. His hand rested lightly on the hilt of the weapon. "Sleep. I will keep watch." The girl hesitated, but her body was too weak. Exhaustion pulled at her bones. Her eyelids grew heavy. Slowly, she curled into the coat, its warmth wrapping around her. Her head rested against the wall. Her breathing slowed. Fragile but steady, the human remained awake, his eyes fixed on the door. Every sound outside sharpened his senses. The distant calls of guards echoed through the alleys. Sometimes heavy boots passed nearby. Shadows crossed the cracks in the wall. Each time he tightened his grip on the weapon, ready to defend. Hours passed. The girl stirred in her sleep, murmuring softly. Her hands clenched at the coat as if she feared it would be torn away. The human glanced at her, his face hard, but his eyes softened. He had seen broken souls before, but hers was different. She was not broken by choice. She was broken because no one had ever protected her. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed outside. The girl woke with a start, gasping. The human raised his hand, signaling her to stay silent. Heavy voices passed the building. Guards were still searching. "Check every corner," one barked. The sound of armored feet scraped against the ground. The girl's eyes widened, her body frozen. She pressed her hand to her mouth to keep from making a sound. The human stood perfectly still, weapon ready. The footsteps came closer, closer until they paused outside the storehouse. The silence was suffocating. Then, after a tense pause, the voices faded. The guards moved on. Their shouts grew faint. The danger passed. For now, the girl exhaled shakily, tears sliding down her cheeks again. She looked at the human, whispering, "They will never stop. You will be hunted too because of me." He shook his head slowly. "Then let them hunt. I will not leave you." Her chest tightened. Her whole life had been chains and shame. But now, sitting in this dark shelter, she felt something new. Fragile, but real. Someone had chosen her. Someone had given her worth. The shadows of the storehouse wrapped around them, but inside, something bright had begun to grow. Morning came slowly. Pale light slipped through the cracks of the storehouse walls. The girl stirred under the human's coat, her body weak, her lips were dry, her skin pale. Hunger and sickness pulled her down like heavy chains. The human crouched beside her, his brow furrowed. He touched her forehead gently. She was burning with fever. Her breaths came shallow, uneven. She needed food, water, and medicine. Without them, she would not last another night. He rose, pulling the coat tighter around her small frame. "Stay, hidden," he said firmly. "I will return." Her eyes widened in fear. "No. If you go, they will catch you." "I have no choice," he answered, his voice steady, but his eyes revealed the weight of the risk. The girl clutched his sleeve, weakly, her hands trembling. "They will kill you. They will kill me too." He placed his hand over hers, his grip warm, firm. "I promised I would not leave you. I will return." She wanted to believe him, but fear clawed at her heart. Still, she let go, watching as he slipped into the shadows of the streets. Her chest tightened, praying silently that he would come back. The settlement was restless. The defiance of a single human had spread like fire. Whispers filled every corner. "The human stole her," one said. "He struck the guards." Another added, "A bounty has been placed." Someone whispered. With wide eyes, posters began to appear on walls and gates, crude sketches of the human's face and the alien girl's pale form. Rewards promised riches to anyone who captured them. The hunt was no longer just the guards. It was mercenaries, traders, even common folk eager for coin. The human kept his head low, moving through crowded alleys. His eyes scanned every corner. Every voice that rose behind him made him tense. He slipped into a small shop, one filled with old supplies and herbs. The shopkeeper, a wrinkled alien, with sharp eyes, narrowed his gaze at the stranger. "What do you want?" "Food, clean water, medicine," the human said quickly. The shopkeeper's lips curled into a sly smile. "Expensive things, human." The human dropped coins onto the counter, but the shopkeeper only sneered. "The bounty on your head is worth more than this." His hand reached slowly for a hidden alarm. In a blur, the human's hand shot out, slamming down on the shopkeeper's wrist. His eyes burned with warning. "Do not!" he growled. The old alien froze. His breath caught. He had seen death in many faces, but in this human's eyes there was something colder, something unshakable. Reluctantly, the shopkeeper handed over a bundle of food and herbs. His hands shook as he muttered, "You are a fool, human. No one escapes the hunters." The human said nothing. He turned and slipped back into the streets, his senses sharp. Every step was a risk, every shadow felt like an enemy. Meanwhile, in the storehouse, the girl sat curled in the coat, her body weak, her stomach twisting in hunger. Every creak of the wood made her flinch. She imagined the door breaking open, guards dragging her away, the coat torn from her body. But then the door opened slowly. Her breath caught, and her heart stopped. Until she saw his silhouette. He had returned. His arms carried food and water. She felt tears sting her eyes. He had kept his promise. He knelt beside her, offering water first. She drank greedily, coughing, but relief spread across her face. He gave her food, small portions, enough to bring strength back into her limbs. Then he mixed herbs into a paste, applying them gently to her cuts and bruises. Her eyes followed his hands, careful and steady. She whispered, "Why do you care so much? You don't even know me." He glanced at her, his expression quiet but firm. "Because someone should." Her throat tightened. She pressed her face into the coat, hiding tears that would not stop. His words were simple. But to her, they were heavier than the world. Outside, voices rang through the streets. The bounty grew louder. Posters ripped and replaced, mercenaries sharpening their blades. The city itself had turned against them. The human glanced at the door, his hand on the weapon, his jaw clenched. "They are closing in," he said. The girl shivered, whispering, "They will never stop." His voice hardened. "Then neither will I." Her eyes widened. She had lived her life as something to be thrown away. But this human refused to throw her aside. The price of defiance was rising. The city would not forgive, but neither would he surrender. The shadows thickened in the storehouse. Danger pressed closer. And yet within that fragile silence, the girl began to believe. Maybe, just maybe, she was worth saving. The night was heavy with silence. The human sat against the wall of the storehouse, his weapon across his knees. His eyes never left the door. He listened to every sound, every whisper of the wind. The alien girl lay curled in his coat, her breathing weak but steady. Hours passed like shadows, but then something strange began to stir. The girl shifted, her body trembling. Her hands clutched the coat tighter, and a faint glow flickered across her skin. It started as a soft shimmer along her arms, like moonlight beneath the flesh. The human noticed first. His eyes narrowed. He leaned closer. "What is happening?" he whispered. The girl gasped, shaking her head. "No, not now." Her voice cracked with fear. The glow spread across her shoulders, thin lines like markings burning through her pale skin, her eyes filled with tears. "This is why they hate me," she whispered. "This is why they call me worthless, because I am not like them. I am cursed." The human's jaw tightened. His hand rested gently on her trembling arm. "This is not a curse," he said firmly. "This is power." Her body shook harder. The glow grew brighter, lighting up the storehouse with eerie light. Symbols stretched across her arms and chest, pulsing with life. She whimpered, covering herself as if ashamed. "It only brings pain. If they see it, they will kill me." Outside, voices echoed through the night. The guards had not stopped searching. The clang of weapons and barking of hounds drifted through the alleys. But now, if the light spread too far, they would see. The human grabbed an old blanket from the floor and draped it over her glowing form, shielding her light. "Breathe," he told her. "You are safe." But her body twisted with energy. Her breath came fast. She groaned, clutching her stomach. The light burned brighter, slipping out from under the blanket. The human pulled her into his arms, holding her close. His voice was calm, steady, even as the glow pulsed against his chest. "You are not alone. I will not let them take you." The girl sobbed into his coat. Her words spilled like broken glass. "My blood, it can wake machines, old machines buried under the cities. They fear me because of it. They strip me. They mock me. So no one will ever see me as more than a danger." The human's eyes sharpened. The truth struck him like thunder. She was not weak. She was rare, powerful. A weapon in their eyes, a threat to their order. That was why they tried to break her spirit. He lifted her chin, forcing her to meet his eyes. "They fear you because they cannot control you," he said. "That does not make you weak. It makes you stronger than all of them." Her tears shimmered in the glow. For the first time, she looked at him not with fear but with hope. The glow still pulsed, but it no longer seemed wild. It responded to her heartbeat, her emotions, and his voice steadied her. But outside, danger grew louder. The guards moved closer to the storehouse. The hounds snarled, sniffing the ground. The girl's glow leaked through the cracks in the wall, bright enough to catch an eye. The human rose, gripping his weapon, his jaw set. "They will come," he said. The girl shook her head desperately. "No, if they see me like this, they will kill us both." He tightened his grip on the weapon. "Then we fight." The door rattled as heavy boots slammed against it. The wood cracked. Voices shouted, "He is inside with the cursed one." The girl's body trembled harder, the glow spreading across the room. The human stood in front of her, shielding her with his body. His coat hung over her shoulders like armor. The door burst open. Guards stormed inside, weapons raised. Their eyes widened at the sight of her glowing skin. Some hesitated, fear flashing in their faces. Others roared with hatred. The girl cried, out, the glow exploding from her body in a sudden wave. The ground shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. Old metal beams rattled. The guards stumbled back, shouting in panic. The human stood firm, his hand steady on the weapon. His voice thundered. Through the chaos, she is not yours to take. The girl's power flared again, brighter, stronger, filling the entire storehouse with light. The guards shielded their eyes, blinded. Their shouts turned to screams. Some fled into the night, others dropped their weapons and fell. When the light faded, the girl collapsed, weak. The human caught her before she hit the ground, her markings dimmed, fading back beneath her skin. She shivered, whispering, "I didn't mean to. It just happens." The human held her close, his voice steady. "Do not fear it. This is who you are, and I will protect you." Outside, alarms rang louder. Reinforcements were coming. The human looked down at the girl in his arms. Her power was not just survival, it was something greater, something that could change everything. And as he lifted her again, wrapping her tighter in his coat, he knew the truth. The price of defiance had grown higher, but so had the reason to fight. The storehouse shook with echoes of alarm. Outside voices shouted, more guards rushing in. The ground trembled with their heavy boots. Their weapons clattered, sharp and deadly. The girl clung to the human's coat, her body weak, her markings faint but alive beneath her skin. The human stood tall, his weapon gripped firmly. His eyes burned with defiance. He had faced death before, but never like this. Now he carried more than his own life. He carried hers, fragile but powerful. The door burst wide open again. Dozens of guards flooded in, their eyes fixed on the glowing girl. "Take her," one barked. "Kill the human," the girl gasped, trembling. "There are too many." The man's voice was steady, unshaken. "Then we stand together." The first guard lunged forward, but the human struck fast. His weapon crashed against armor, sparks flying. Another swung from behind, but he turned, blocking. His fists and blade moved like fire, each strike driven not by survival alone, but by the promise he had made. The girl watched, her chest tight. Fear filled her heart, but so did something stronger. His coat wrapped around her like a shield. His body stood like a wall between her and the storm. And in that moment, her markings began to glow again. The light spread brighter than before. She felt the warmth rising inside her. No longer only fear. It was something new, something fierce. Her hands shook, but she raised them, and the power answered. The floor rumbled, the walls cracked. An old machine hidden beneath the city stirred awake. Rusted gears groaned. Ancient metal trembled as if her very heartbeat commanded it. The guards froze, terror flashing in their eyes. "She is waking it," one shouted. "Stop her!" But it was too late. The light burst from her body in waves, sweeping across the storehouse, knocking soldiers from their feet. Their weapons clattered uselessly to the ground. The human shielded her with his body. But he did not fear her power. He looked at her and saw not danger, not curse, but destiny. "Do not hold back," he told her. "This is who you are." Her tears glistened as the light poured stronger. "They always said I was cursed," she whispered. "But you call it strength." "Because it is," he answered firmly. "And I will fight beside you." Her heart surged. Her glow spread like fire, wrapping both of them in a storm of light. The guards screamed, fleeing into the night. Some stumbled blind, others collapsed in fear. The market outside erupted with chaos, the name of the cursed girl spreading like thunder. When the last of the attackers had fled, silence fell. The girl collapsed forward, exhausted. The human caught her gently. Holding her close, his coat slipped, but he pulled it tighter around her small body, keeping her warm. Her voice was faint, trembling but full of wonder. You stayed. You did not run." The man's eyes softened, his voice steady. "I told you. You are not trash. You are not worthless." She clutched his coat with shaking hands, her tears soaked into the fabric. "No one has ever said that to Me, no one has ever looked at me the way you do. He brushed a strand of hair from her face. Because they were blind. But I see you. The words struck her heart like fire. For years she had lived in chains of shame. For years she had been mocked, beaten, stripped of dignity. But now, in the shadow of destruction wrapped in a human's coat, she felt something she had never known. Freedom. Outside, the city still roared. Alarms rang, fires burned. They were not safe, not yet. But in her heart, something had changed. She was no longer alone. She pressed her forehead against his chest, whispering, "You gave me dignity when they gave me shame. You wrapped me in warmth when they left me in the cold. Now, I belong with you." The human looked down at her, silent for a moment. His hand tightened gently on her shoulder. His eyes, once hard with anger, softened with something else. Acceptance. He nodded once. "Then stay with me, and together we will never bow to them." The girl's glow faded slowly, but inside her burned a flame that would never die. She was not cursed, she was not worthless, she was alive, powerful, and chosen. The coat she wore was more than fabric now. It was a symbol, a reminder that even in the cruelest crowd, one act of kindness could change everything. As they slipped into the shadows of the night, leaving the broken storehouse behind, the girl whispered softly, "This is not the end." The man's voice was steady beside her. "No, it is only the beginning." And together, wrapped in the coat that had given her dignity, they walked into a future unknown, a bond forged not by chains, but by choice.